Gabrielle Dolan, Stories for Work, The Essential Guide to Business Storytelling. Get ready to discover the power of storytelling in the business world with Gabrielle Dolan's Stories for Work, The Essential Guide to Business Storytelling. Learn about the historical impact of storytelling and its application in driving business success. Find out how storytelling can evoke emotions, influence decisions, and capture hearts and minds in today's professional landscape. The book summary will also unlock the various types of stories, triumphs, tragedies, tension, and transitions, and offer tips on finding and structuring your own authentic stories for maximum engagement.
The power of storytelling in business. Storytelling is an ancient art that dates back to the earliest civilizations. It serves as an effective communication tool that can be applied to business situations. Australia Post, for example, created a 2-day storytelling event called the Grapevine to instill new company values into their workforce. Attendees were asked to share a personal story related to one of the values, resulting in a significant increase in employees' confidence in explaining these values. Storytelling is a powerful remedy to the problem of dull PowerPoint presentations in business. The science of storytelling. Stories are not just a form of entertainment but also powerful communicative tools. The emotional connection that stories build between the storyteller and listener stimulates the release of oxytocin, trust hormone, in the brain and engages the neocortex, higher cognitive function, leading to a vivid mental picture of the narrative. This emotional engagement is what influences our decision-making process, making storytelling an effective influencing technique. Advertisements that are emotionally driven are almost twice as effective as those based on logic alone. Triumph versus tragedy. The article highlights the power of using storytelling to convey important messages in business scenarios. The reader is introduced to two main categories of stories, tragedy and triumph. Tragedies revolve around a disaster, while triumph stories focus on success and celebration. The article provides practical examples of how storytelling can be used to illustrate the importance of safety and instill core values in a company. The author emphasizes the impact of story sharing as a tool to connect with others, inspire change and create meaningful bonds between individuals. The power of tension and transition stories. Stories can be powerful and effective tools for communication. Tension stories can be about conflicts where your values or behavior were questioned, while transition stories focus on major life changes. Both types of stories can enhance our skills and are worth sharing. For instance, Jonathan Snelling, a senior product manager, demonstrated humility by sharing his tension story, which taught him the importance of accepting help. On the other hand, Rose McCarthy, an HR manager, shared her transition story about immigrating to Ireland to demonstrate her determination and willpower, which landed her a job even with no experience in the field. When telling tension or transition stories, emphasize the emotions felt during the experience and avoid sounding like an autobiography. By crafting these stories, we can share our experiences and use them to connect and inspire others. Everyday Stories, a treasure trove of inspiration. The book explains the importance of embracing everyday situations and not focusing only on life's big events to find authentic stories. It shares the story of Peter Cook, who learned to prioritize his goals by adjusting his perspective. The book also provides two effective approaches to find both work and non-work-related stories. To find work-related stories, the book encourages readers to create a table and brainstorm different story types related to their past jobs. For non-work-related stories, readers should jot down significant memories and link them to specific story types. By doing so, readers can spark their inspiration and uncover a treasure trove of stories. Crafting a captivating story. In the quest to tell a great story, we are often tempted to include every detail and fact. However, the secret to captivating storytelling is structuring it around Aristotle's ancient 3-step framework of beginning, middle, and end. A great beginning should capture the listener's interest, give context, and be concise. The middle contains the lion's share of the detail, and here, the details must add value. Emotional connections are crucial, and they can be created by humanizing the characters and building trust and empathy. Finally, an effective ending has three parts: the bridge, link, and pause. The bridge allows the speaker to reset and summarize the key message, the link helps the listeners take away something inspiring, and the pause creates a silence that maximizes the link's impact. By following these simple steps, anyone can craft a captivating story that resonates with their listeners. Crafting compelling stories for business. Crafting compelling stories requires concise writing, embracing vulnerability, using humor wisely, and practice. Keeping the story under 2 minutes, showing vulnerability, and using humor intelligently engages the audience. Finally, practice is essential to perfect the story's rhythm, spot inconsistencies, and discover important details. Crafting compelling stories for business requires several key elements that make them authentic and powerful. The first principle is to keep the stories concise. Introductions should be quick and to the point, and the final product should take no more than 2 minutes to narrate. Failure to keep the story succinct dampens the mood and loses the audience's interest. Embracing vulnerability is another essential component of storytelling. It prevents accusations of self-importance during triumph stories and helps the audience connect emotionally with the speaker. Sharing vulnerability takes courage but yields a highly rewarding and effective outcome. Humor is also an important storytelling tool. Used intelligently, it adds character and flair to the story. For example, introducing humility during triumph stories is a valuable cog in the storytelling machine. However, humor can divide the audience, and using racist or sexist humor is not only unacceptable but also inappropriate. The secret weapon for crafting compelling stories is practice. The most captivating orators hone their skills through hard work, dedication, and practice. Knowing the story inside out gives confidence to the speaker and helps perfect the story's rhythm while spotting inconsistencies and discovering details to add or remove. To practice, write out stories exactly as you would recite them and look for any unnatural or clunky phrases. Reword, rewrite, and repeat until everything is smooth, polished, and effortless. Crafting compelling stories requires concise writing, embracing vulnerability, using humor wisely, and practice. Keep the story under 2 minutes, show vulnerability, use humor intelligently, and practice often to keep your audience engaged and interested. The power of storytelling in business. In the world of business, storytelling is a versatile tool that can be used to engage, build trust with clients, communicate values, and shape personal brand. For instance, during presentations or sales pitches, using a well-crafted narrative early on helps establish rapport and captures an audience's attention rather than starting with statistics and graphs. Moreover, sharing stories can help reflect and reinforce company values by introducing them into the grapevine network of informal discussions among employees. Lastly, using storytelling can help shape a personal brand by controlling the stories shared with coworkers and, in turn, influence the stories they share about you. Therefore, businesses should realize the power of stories to enhance their communication strategies. Flexibility in storytelling. Having a variety of stories and being flexible in storytelling is crucial for effective communication. Have you ever wondered why an airplane wing bends and sways during heavy turbulence? If it were entirely rigid, it would snap clean off. This analogy can be applied to storytelling. Having a variety of stories is essential to avoid sounding like a broken record. It's easy to become complacent after perfecting 1 or 2 stories. However, this leads to trouble because people will lose interest and think, "Here we go again." To avoid this, storytellers must keep their toolbox full of stories and constantly search for new ones. Stories can come from anywhere, like a haircut appointment, where the stylist drying hair with 2 dryers in each hand served as the perfect example of excellent customer service. Storytelling also requires being flexible in considering the medium and context. Oral communication is an excellent medium for storytelling, but writing is equally effective for displaying expertise and advertising skills. When writing for a blog, language should be slightly more formal, and repetition should be avoided. Moreover, it's essential to consider the context of the story. For instance, if driving organizational change, a story about children caught up in a riptide could be an effective illustration of how quickly conditions can change. However, the same story may not be appropriate for building trust and security in a product. In conclusion, having a variety of stories and being flexible in storytelling is crucial for effective communication. It's important to keep the toolbox of stories full and search for new ones continuously, and consider the medium and context of the story for maximum impact.
As we wrap up this summary of A Stories for Work, the essential guide to business storytelling, it's evident that the art of storytelling is both timeless and highly relevant in the business world. By arousing emotions and influencing decision-making, stories can amplify a message and enhance its impact. The ability to find, structure, and share diverse stories is critical for fostering success in professional and personal endeavors. So, remember to embrace everyday situations, practice vulnerability, hone your sense of humor, and refine your stories to unlock their full potential. Finally, use storytelling with adaptability, remaining agile and aware of the specific context in which it's being deployed.